A very good morning. It's just past 8 this Monday morning. We're back again with another edition of Breakfast News. Just 4 days left in the year. We're looking at 2021 very soon coming next to us. But before that, let's get started this Monday morning on all the top stories that we're looking across the day. Also a big focus on Prime Minister's two big events, the driverless metro and also Kisan rail. Lots to look forward to in the next 60 minutes. We cut all the noise, get you facts as it happens on the ground. We help you keep your poise as we get you news from the world of politics, business, sports and entertainment. Big focus on COVID as well as the vaccine development story there from across Europe and America. Lots to look forward to. I'm Anil Thomas. With me this morning, my co-anchor Nancy Kohli. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning. Anil, how are you doing this morning?
Well, pretty excited.
And sounding energetic, I must say. Well, on that note, let's begin with the headlines. We'll get you all the news from across the nation, world, sports and business updates. But first, a check on the headlines.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi to flag off the driverless metro train on Delhi's metro's Magenta line today. National Common Mobility Card service to be launched on Airport Express line. The 100th Kisan rail also to be flagged off.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh assures the farmer, says no one can take away their land, targets the opposition for propaganda about agricultural reform laws.
External Affairs Minister S.Jaishankar on a two-day visit to Qatar, scheduled to meet the Qatari Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister today.
COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 95.82% in the country. The daily new caseload drops below 19,000 after 6 months.
Beijing city enters state of emergency as city reports 13 locally transmitted COVID cases. Mass testing underway.
US President Donald Trump signs into law the COVID relief and spending package bill, awards partial government shutdown.
India all out for 326 runs on day 3 of the second test match against Australia in Melbourne. India get a lead of 131 runs in the first innings. Australia lose their first wicket in the second.
And let's now get you the news in detail, and let's talk about the driverless metro train that will run for the first time there. Let's get you more on that.
Well, the driverless metro train, that's going to be another first in the country. That's going to be inaugurated today by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He will inaugurate the first ever driverless train operations on Delhi Metro's Magenta line today via video conferencing. A fully operational National Common Mobility Card service on the Airport Express line will also be flagged off. More in this report.
There was a time when metro operations were limited to a few places, but times changed and Delhi saw a web of metro rail network. Passengers greatly benefited as far as commuting within the national capital, and now metro has taken a giant leap in its achievements. Now metro trains will run driverless on tracks. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate India's first ever driverless train operations on Delhi's Metro Magenta line, Janakpuri West Botanical Gardens, along with a fully operational National Common Mobility Card service on the Airport Express line via video conferencing. After the start of driverless services on the Magenta line, the Pink Line of Delhi Metro is expected to have driverless operations by mid-2021. The National Common Mobility Card, which will be fully operationalized on the Airport Express line, will enable anyone carrying a RuPay debit card issued from any part of the country to travel on the Airport Express line using that card. This facility will become available on the entire Delhi Metro network by 2022. Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, or DMRC, had started trial of driverless trains nearly 3 years ago. With the start of driverless metro on the Magenta line, passengers will be able to avail faster and improved services. What is special is that the entire process of operating such trains will be done from the Operations and Control Center. During the 18 years of Delhi Metro operations, This is seen as the most important achievement so far. Now with the expansion of the metro network, its ambit is 390 kilometers. It will herald a new era of travelling comfort and enhanced mobility. The driverless trains will be fully automatic, and running of such trains will end human error. With Bureau Inputs, DD India.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will flag off the 100th Kisan Rail from Sangola in Maharashtra to Shalimar in West Bengal this evening via video conferencing. The Union Ministers Narendra Singh Tomar and Piyush Goyal will also be present on the occasion. The multi-commodity train service will carry vegetables such as cauliflower, capsicum, cabbage, drumsticks, chilies, onion, as well as fruits like grapes, oranges, pomegranate, banana and custard apple. Now, loading and unloading of perishable commodities will be permitted at all en route stoppages with no bar on the size of consignment. The government has extended a subsidy 50% on the transportation of fruits and vegetables. And let's get to know more about the Kisan Rail. Well, the first Kisan Rail was introduced from Devlali to Danapur on 7th of August this year, and this was further extended up to Muzaffarpur. Now, on getting good response from the farmers, the frequency of the Kisan Rail was also increased from weekly to 3 days in a week. Kisan Rail has been a game changer in ensuring fast transportation of agriculture produce across the country. It also provides a seamless supply chain of perishable produce. And let's now go across to our correspondent Arun Sharma, who is joining us with more updates on the two big events lined up for today. First, let's begin. Arun, good morning. First, let's begin with the flagging off of Delhi Metro's first driverless train and the national mobility, the national common mobility card as well, and how clearly the passenger comfort has been at the heart of the DMRC's many initiatives, and yet another step in introducing the technology-driven solutions by the DMRC.
Good morning, Nancy and Anil. Well, this is another step towards smart mobility in our country.
Yes.
And DMRC is known for, or primarily the metro rail services are known for, introducing new technology and innovations into its network. Now, today is again a historic day as far as urban mobility is concerned in our country.
Right.
Now, we have seen various other countries like European countries, US, and other Asian countries as well. Over there, the driverless network is already existing. But the kind of vast network that India is going to operate now, that will be historic in nature. Now, we know this fact that the Magenta line will be operational, and of course, the driverless operations will come into effect from today. Now, this is close to 36-37 kilometer long route covering close to 30 stations as far as this Magenta line is concerned. Now, this will be operated on a driverless mode. Now, it is also ensured that close to 7% of the global network of this driverless metro train services will be covered as far as this metro train services are concerned. So yes, it's an historic day. Now, apart from driverless services, we know this fact that this is going to provide comfort to the passengers as well. There will be less human intervention as far as this driverless metro is concerned. And of course, it will be more accurate in nature. And of course, we know that since it's a technologically driven aspect of Delhi Metro, and of course, the driverless angle is there.
Right.
So therefore, we can expect there is a least human intervention in this aspect. Second important aspect is about the NCMC card, or the National Common Mobility Card. We know this fact that when Prime Minister Narendra Modi flagged off the Ahmedabad metro rail services over there, and it was announced about the NCMC to be introduced in entire country. And today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to introduce it on the Airport Line Express. We know this fact that RuPay card primarily is getting global. And apart from this, the RuPay card is also becoming technologically upgraded. So now, if in case you have issued the RuPay card in last 18 months, you will be in the position to use this RuPay card as an NCMC card, or the National Common Mobility Card. And government is also ensuring that how can one nation, one card can be ensured as far as mobility is concerned. And in that context, it's going to be very much important.
Okay, Arun, considering that DMRC has been conducting tests with regards to driverless, metro trains for the last 3 years, and now that we look set to have a driverless metro, what's the grade of automation that you see, especially when it comes to this particular phase that we are going to bring about transformation? What's the grade of automation that you see? And secondly, what are the new things that come about once we go driverless?
Well, you'll hardly get to know that this train is driverless or not driverless.
Okay.
The fact is the technology is so smooth that you'll hardly realize that this train is running without a driver. So that's the best and beauty of the technology that we are witnessing now. As I mentioned earlier, other countries, for example, like France, Mexico, Chile, Japan for that matter, Korea for that matter, US for that matter, all these countries, the developed countries, are having these kind of driverless transit metro system in their respective countries. This gives a major boost to the the smart mobility or the urban transportation in your country. And in that context, in that regard only, today is going to be historic because it will be a driverless car, number one. Driverless metro, number one. Number two is that there will be less human intervention. We know this fact that gates will open automatically.
Sure.
There will be smart robotic systems in place. There will be smart network in place so that the driverless metro has no error in it, and that's the reason it will be smartly automated metro system in place. Last but not the least, let me also add about the NCMC card. As I mentioned earlier, the RuPay card is becoming global and in the direction of one nation, one card. The urban transportation is reaching new heights, and that's very much important because now it is being introduced on the airport express line. But gradually we'll see that this NCMC card will be operational and will be used in entire Delhi metro network and all the transport system soon. So that is going to be a historic change as far as one nation, one card is concerned.
And like you also mentioned, Arun, with this, of course, DMRC will enter the elite league of 7% of the world's metro networks, which can operate without drivers. Let's shift our focus a bit, and another big event of the day also, Arun, which is that, of course, going to be flagging off of the 100th Kisan Rail from Maharashtra today, and how this is going to be really important and, prove to be of great help to the small and the marginal farmers, especially in getting a better profit from their farm produce and also, in fact, reduce wastage.
Absolutely. So Kisan Rail again is a historic initiative as far as the agriculture sector is concerned. Now till now what was happening that if in case a farmer used to send his produce from one state to another state, it used to take close to 48 hours because we used to send it via trucks and lorries. And these trucks and lorries were not cold storage in a sense, the perishable item used to get destroyed, and of course they used to get perished. So now this Kisan Rail is playing an important role. So connecting Maharashtra to West Bengal, and earlier we have seen that Maharashtra was connected to Bihar in Danapur, and earlier it was also extended to Muzaffarpur. So now this Kisan Rail services will be starting from Maharashtra in Sangola, and it will reach to Shalimar. So now the farmers will be in a position to send their perishable items, their produce to other states as well, without it being perished, and it will be using the cold storage facilities as well. The government of India is also, subsidizing by 50%. That means with less cost involved, they'll be in a position to send their produce from one state to another. So yes, government is ensuring that how can the agriculture infrastructure in a country can be strengthened. Earlier we have seen that government has announced 1 lakh crore of agriculture infrastructure fund in our country, and now the government is ensuring how can Kisan Rail network can be increased in our country, so that the produce can be sent from one state to another without being destroyed or without being getting perished.
Okay, Arun, also staying with Kisan Rail, now that we are hitting a landmark, especially when it comes to the 100th train of Kisan Rail, how do you look at the success story of it? What's the success story when one looks at it, and especially in the backdrop of this being a game changer?
See, it is a success story in a sense that now farmers are getting bigger markets, new markets in as of now. Because till now, what a farmer was doing, he was trying to sell his stuff wherever he was belonging to. For example, today when the Kisan Rail is starting from Sangola, Sangola is known for producing pomegranates and of course jowar. So what was happening till now, the farmers were selling their produce in the local state only, in their respective state only, because either they were having a fear that their food items or produce will get destroyed by interstate movement. So now they're having bigger markets because now their food produce will reach to another state within next 24 hours or 36 hours, and cold storage facilities will also be there. So they'll get more as far as their farm produce is concerned, and their their food items will also not get destroyed. So these are some of the big achievements and highlights as far as this Kisan Rail is concerned.
Okay. All right, Arun Sharma, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all those updates and inputs as far as the two big events for today is concerned. As far as the driverless metro train and the 100th Kisan rail is concerned, we'll of course be covering these events and getting back to you once again later on in the day today. Thanks very much, Arun, for the timing though.
Well, moving on, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has assured farmers that no one can take away their land. While addressing a program on completion of 3 years of BJP government in Himachal Pradesh on Sunday, he said that MSP will continue. He told farmers not to pay heed to false propaganda spread by the opposition. Meanwhile, BJP President JP Nadda shared a speech of Congress leader Rahul Gandhi speaking in Parliament, where he is seen supporting agricultural reforms.
Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh on Monday reiterated the government's commitment to protecting minimum support price so that farmers' interests are not hurt at any cost. Addressing a program via video conferencing on the completion of 3 years of the BJP government in Himachal Pradesh, the Defence Minister said that new farm laws are much needed reforms to provide freedom to farmers to sell their produce to whoever and wherever they want for the best price. Taking a dig at the opposition, the Defence Minister said that protesting farmers are being misled by political parties because of vested interests.
इस ऐतिहासिक कृषि सुधार से उन लोगों के पैरों तले जमीन खिसक गई है जो लोग किसानों के नाम पर अपने निहित स्वार्थ साधते थे। उनका धंधा खत्म हो जाएगा। इसलिए जानबूझकर देश के कुछ हिस्सों में एक गलतफहमी पैदा की जा रही है कि हमारी सरकार एमएसपी की व्यवस्था खत्म करना चाहती है, जबकि सच्चाई इसके ठीक विपरीत है। वह प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ही हैं जिन्होंने स्वामीनाथन आयोग द्वारा प्रस्तावित एमएसपी फार्मूले को स्वीकार किया है और उसी फार्मूले के तहत देश में अब मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस की घोषणा की जा रही है।
Lashing out at the opposition, Rajnath Singh said that false and malicious propaganda is being carried out over the issue of contract farming. The Defence Minister also assured farmers that the government is ready to discuss all issues of concern with them.
हमारी सरकार ने साथियों बहुत सोच समझ के और सभी स्टेक होल्डर्स को विश्वास में लेकर नए कृषि कानून बनाए हैं। मैं किसान भाइयों से अपील करता हूं कि कम से कम 1.5-2 साल इन कृषि सुधारों के असर को देख लीजिए। यदि इसके बाद किसानों को लगता है कि कृषि कानून किसानों के हित में नहीं है, तो सरकार इन कानूनों के बारे में पुनः आपके साथ चर्चा करके किसान कल्याण के जो आवश्यक होगा वह करेगी।
Meanwhile, BJP National President JP Nadda shared an old video of Congress leader Rahul Gandhi speaking in the Lok Sabha and accused him of opposing what he himself had advocated earlier. What is happening here, Rahul ji? You're opposing what you had advocated earlier. You have got nothing to do with national interest or farmers' issue. You're only playing politics. Unfortunately, your hypocrisy will not work now. People and farmers of the country have come to know your double standards. Meanwhile, supporting new farm laws, farmers from Haryana said that these laws are for their well-being. They said that farmers would not have committed suicide in such large numbers had the previous agricultural laws been effective.
ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ 3 ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਮੋਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਜੀ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ। ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਫਸਲ ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਵੇਚ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮੰਡੀ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਨਹੀਂ। ਅਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਚਕੂਲੇ 'ਚ ਵੇਚਾਂਗੇ। ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਸਟੇਟ ਕहीं ਵੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਡਿਸਟ੍ਰਿਕਟ 'ਚ ਵੇਚ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ। ਤੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਫਸਲ ਦੀ ਕੀਮਤ ਹੈ, ਜੋ ਨਫਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣਾ है जी, तो साढ़े खाते सीधा आता है जी।
ये 3 अध्यादेश वो है जिसके लिए 1970 के दशक से यानी कि पिछले 50 साल से हम सब मिलकर संघर्ष कर रहे थे। अगर हम लोग ये मान के चले कि हमारी 50 साल की पुरानी डिमांड सरकार ने पूरी कर दी तो कोई गलती थोड़ी ना करी, ये तो हमारे फायदे की चीज़ है।
की फसल भी गई है, अभी गेहूँ लगा भी गई है। ये सरकार बढ़िया काम किया सरकार ने, मोदी जी ने जो भी किया अच्छा किया और किसानों के हक में किया।
Earlier on Saturday, farm unions protesting against 3 agricultural laws had agreed to restart negotiations with the government on Tuesday. DD India.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S.Jaishankar is on a 2-day visit to Qatar. The minister is scheduled to meet the Qatar Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Jassim Al Thani. S.Jaishankar will also call on other important dignitaries of the state of Qatar. This is Dr. S.Jaishankar's first visit to the country as External Affairs Minister. Now, during the visit, he will hold talks with his counterpart on bilateral issues as well as regional and international issues of mutual interest. Yesterday, the External Affairs Minister attended the India-Qatar Business Roundtable. While interacting, he appreciated the commitment for strengthening business partnerships with India. He thanked the government of Qatar, the Amir, for the support and care for the Indian community during a very, very difficult time. He also briefed them about new opportunities flowing from Atmanirbhar Bharat in India. Now, Dr. S.Jaishankar also interacted with the Indian community virtually. He thanked the local government for helping the Indians in difficult times and the people of the Indian community for handling the situation in bad times. He said India has provided medicines to 150 countries and sent medical teams to assist the friendly nation in tackling COVID-19 pandemic. Lauding the Indian community, the minister also in fact said that the community members have helped in establishing the image of India in the region.
The community here took very good care of itself in the best sense of the term. That, whether it was charter flights that you helped arrange or the Vande Bharat missions for which you did the organization at your end, I think it is a source of not just satisfaction but a pride for us that our community organizations and our community leaders have really worked together and managed what has been a very difficult situation from away from the homeland. So a big thank you on behalf of the Indian government from me to all of you.
But for more on the story, our correspondent Abhishek Jha joining us this morning, giving us more updates on the two-day visit by the External Affairs Minister. Abhishek, good morning. Abhishek, India and Qatar have worked closely together, especially in tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. Also the air bubble, one of the few countries that came forward and created an air bubble agreement with India, especially in these testing times. Having said that, how do you look at this two-day visit? The first by the External Affairs Minister S.Jaishankar. How do you look at the important aspects that are going to be, especially when it comes to trade and bilateral relations, that are going to be discussed across the table?
Abhishek, are you with us? Abhishek, if you're with us, we're asking you more about what's really going to be on the agenda as far as the two-day visit of the External Affairs Minister to Qatar is concerned, with focus there, of course, being on trade, energy cooperation and bilateral issues.
Morning, Nancy. The major initiative that External Affairs Ministers this visit is going to have is in terms of especially two reasons. First, it is effort in diplomatic outreach to the Gulf nations. We have seen recently senior Indian leaders have taken to that region. Army Chief has also been to UAE. EAM himself has been to other states like Bahrain. He has visited recently. Our Energy Minister Dharmendra Pradhan has also been in regular touch with his counterparts from that region. So the majorly two reasons are behind all these outreach to the Gulf nation. First is that India wants to have its energy basket diversified and it wants to have as many partners and allies in terms of securing its energy supplies for future consumption and as per the demands increases. Also, there is a huge presence of Indian diaspora as workforce in these Gulf nations. If you talk about Qatar, almost 7 lakh Indians are still there who are working with under various companies and government operations in Qatar. So securing their interest is also one of the key reasons why this whole diplomatic outreach in the Gulf region has been initiated in the recent times. Also, India and Qatar enjoy a good bilateral trade composition. Almost $10 billion of bilateral trade is happening between India and Qatar.
Right.
So how can we actually strengthen all these aspects of bilateral relationship? That is going to be one of the key aspects of External Affairs Minister's visit and his talks when he's going to meet his counterparts in Qatar and maybe also other leaders of the respective departments and senior leaders of Qatari government when he's going to meet. So these will be a basic agenda. And recently, Nancy, also India and Qatar have signed an agreement where Qatar has been seen as one of the labor reformist country, and it has assured India that it's going to take care of Indian workers' interest in Qatar, and India has been assured of that. So this is also a kind of a thanksgiving to Qatari government for taking good care of Indian workers and Indian diaspora in that.
Okay, Abhishek, considering that 2022 World Cup is happening in Qatar and India has got India will not have a team there, but India has got a great football frenzy, especially when it comes to, an Asian country hosting the World Cup, and, a lot of fans will be looking forward to going to the 2022 World Cup. In that context, do you see, some kind of, what would you say, more invites, especially to Indians to visit to the Arab nation, especially when the World Cup is around the corner?
So Anil, judging by its size, the geographical landscape that Qatar has, it actually wields too much of influence at that region, that region, especially because of the oil and energy reserve that it has, and due to other political aspect also. So this football World Cup that you are talking about is surely going to have some more facelift to that government. And how can India and Qatar collaborate on that? Because we have seen India has been a regular exporter of food products. India, with the kind of expertise we have had in the last few years in managing so big world sports event, we can also share our expertise with Qatar government, and accordingly, maybe India and Qatar can join in some areas where this football World Cup. We know that India is also one of the major supplier of all those sports kits that are used across the globe by various sports persons. So in those sectors also there can be some headways, but so far we have not been told anything that if India and Qatar are going to have any talks.
Okay. One final word before I let you go. Considering that India and Qatar have worked very closely, especially in this pandemic, in terms of helping each other, that's not all. One of the few countries that came forward when it comes to creating an air bubble agreement with India. Having said that, do you feel that this kind of efforts between the two nations, especially when it comes to people ties, and also investments in trade and energy that we're looking at, having put all that together, do you somewhere feel that we are on a better footing, especially when it comes to all the Arab nations with Qatar?
Of course, Anil, we have seen in the recent past, especially India's outreach to Gulf nations have increased, and that goes back in the last 4 or 5 years. We have seen how many countries have appreciated Prime Minister Modi's work in that region. Prime Minister has been awarded and rewarded by various countries and leaders in that region. So this is not only about Qatar. Qatar is also part of Gulf nation. But it is part of India's extended neighborhood policy in West Asia, where India wants to have more strategic, commercial and trade ties and more influences. Because also India's a lot of remittances come from that region to India, which has been part of crucial in terms of economic development in certain regions, especially states, South India. So many people work in those Gulf regions. So securing their interests is one of the key aspects of this relation. Qatar has 13th largest oil reserve and 3rd largest gas reserve in this country. And when we talk about renewable energy and green energy concept, Qatar is also going to be one of the partners who can actually supply India for long-term future strategy.
Abhishek, right. All right, Abhishek, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all those details as far as the External Affairs Minister's two-day visit to Qatar is concerned. And moving on now, President Rajnath Kovind, who's on a visit to Diu, inaugurated the light and sound show at the Diu Fort. The history of Diu is described in the show. A cultural program depicting the culture of Gujarat was also showcased. And early on in the day, the President laid the foundation stone and inaugurated several developmental projects in Diu. It includes the first academic session of IIIT Vadodara International Campus Diu, the improvement of 1.3 kilometers heritage walkway on Diu City Wall, the conservation and facade restoration of the heritage precincts, the upgradation of fruits and vegetable market at Fort Road, and development of integrated municipal solid waste management system for entire urban and rural areas of Diu district.
Well, the winter session of the Assam Legislative Assembly will begin from today following all the COVID protocols. The winter session will be of 3 days till Wednesday. The supplementary budget for the year 2020-21 will be placed in the winter session. The supplementary budget is necessitated as the state government needs some additional expenditure for this fiscal. There will be oral questions for an hour in each of the 3 days.
And let's now move on to our next segment, get you all the news from around the world in across the globe. And first up, all the updates on COVID-19 from across the world. Well, the virus has infected more than 8 crore 12 lakh people, while over 5 crore 72 lakh have recovered from COVID-19 worldwide. The number of lives lost due to COVID-19 stands above 17 lakh 71,000. The US remains the worst affected from the virus. It has registered more than 1 crore 95 lakh cases of COVID-19, with the fatalities crossing 3 lakh 41,000.
Well, US President Donald Trump has signed the coronavirus relief and government funding bill worth $2.3 trillion, providing relief to millions of jobless Americans. It was approved by the Congress last week. Earlier, Trump had demanded that Congress change the bill to increase the size of stimulus checks for struggling Americans to $2,000 from $600. Amid this, Democrats were on board with the $2,000 payment, but many Republicans had opposed it in the past.
Now, Europe on Sunday launched a massive vaccination drive against COVID-19, with pensioners and medics lining up to take the first shots. With the service pointing to hesitancy towards the vaccine in countries from France to Poland, the leaders of the 27-country European Union are promoting it as the best chance of getting back to normal life next year. European Union is due to receive about 1 crore 25 lakh doses by the end of this year, enough to vaccinate 62 lakh 50,000 people based on the 2-dose regimen. The bloc has secured contracts with a range of drug makers besides Pfizer, including Moderna and AstraZeneca, for over 200 crore vaccine doses, aiming to inoculate all during next year.
Well, Spain launched its vaccination campaign along with other European countries on Sunday. The first batch was delivered in central Spain, where people queued to get doses. Meanwhile, Spain will receive 4.5 million Pfizer vaccine doses over the next 12 weeks and plans to vaccinate elderly residents and staff in nursing homes first, following health workers and other vulnerable people with underlying health conditions. The government expects to vaccinate over 20 million people out of the population of 47 million by June 2021.
Now, in Greece, the President and the Prime Minister have in fact been the first people in the country to receive the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine, to send a message to the public that it was safe and effective. Greece has named its mass vaccination campaign as Freedom, that will give priority to hospital staff and health sector employees, followed by the nursing homes. Meanwhile, Greece is expected to receive another 83,850 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech by Wednesday. Greece will further receive 12,65,000 vaccines by the end of March.
While moving to Italy, where the positivity rate of COVID-19 detection rose continuously over the last 5 days, with 14.88% on Sunday. The mass vaccination program began from Sunday along with other EU nations. Around 9,750 doses have already arrived in Italy, and other 4,70,000 are expected to arrive today. People received the country's first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine at an Italian National Institute for Infectious Disease. Meanwhile, the vaccine is free of charge for health workers and elderly people.
Now, in China, Beijing has issued instructions to all districts, departments and companies to enter a state of emergency and adopt stringent measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The city reported a total of 13 confirmed COVID-19 cases, that's 9 in Shunyi district and 3 in Chaiyong district and 1 in Xicheng. With the resurgence in cases, Beijing has started mass testing and is expected to see New Year holidays with scaled down public activities and a reduced number of outbound travel. Popular temple fairs will be suspended for a second year in 2021, and other cultural activities remain banned. Inbound and outbound tourism remains suspended. Meanwhile, several tourism agencies in Guangdong province suspended their services to Beijing after it reported locally transmitted COVID-19 cases for a 4th straight day yesterday.
Well, shifting continent, moving to South Africa, where in South Africa on Sunday, just days after a new faster spreading variant was detected, the total coronavirus infection crossed the 10 lakh mark. A confluence of school holidays, public laxity and a new potentially more infectious variant of the virus has left authorities scrambling to counter an earlier than expected resurgence of COVID-19 cases, reaching new daily case highs. South Africa has recorded over 26,700 deaths due to the virus. The country now has more than 10,04,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19.
And Mexico continued its vaccination plan against COVID-19 with focus on doctors, nurses and soldiers to be the first to receive doses of Pfizer vaccine. Over 3,900 doses of the first shot were administered in Mexico City, while the second dose will be applied in 21 days. Meanwhile, 45,900 doses of Pfizer-BioNTech have arrived in Mexico in the recent week after it gave approval for the vaccinations. Mexico has ordered 34.4 million Pfizer vaccines that will be arriving up until the second semester of the next year. The country has also put the heavily populated capital and 2 states into semi-lockdowns to try to prevent a further spread of the virus.
Well, Israel entered its third national lockdown since the start of the pandemic to beat back a resurgence of COVID-19 from Sunday evening. The lockdown rules will restrict movement and limit public transportation to 50% capacity. Meanwhile, educational institutions along with workplaces will remain open with certain limitations. However, health officials have expressed optimism that the latest lockdown restrictions will be the nation's last as it steps up its vaccination drive. Health Minister Yuli Edelstein said that 280,000 Israelis had already received their first dose of the vaccine in the first week of the nationwide inoculation program.
Now, Niger underwent voting on Sunday in the country's first transfer of power from one democratically elected president to another. President Muhammadu Issoufou, who is stepping down after 2 5-year terms, described Sunday as a special day and hoped that the election would solidify Niger's reputation as a democratic country in Africa and the world. His departure stands in sharp contrast with Ivory Coast and Guinea, whose presidents this year used constitutional changes to extend their tenures to 3 terms, raising fears of a democratic backslide in West Africa. Now, former Interior Minister Mohamed Bazoum is the ruling party's candidate who will face significant challenges if he succeeds Issoufou. As a politically unstable country, Niger has faced 4 coups since gaining independence from France in 1960. The country also has experienced several incidents of violence, including attacks by militants linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State.
Well, Britain's Finance Minister Rishi Sunak said that UK will cooperate with the European Union in the financial services sector and said that Brexit offers it a chance to do things differently in financial services. The 2 sides will aim to agree a memorandum of understanding on regulatory cooperation in financial services by March 2021. From Jan 1st, British-based financial services groups lose automatic access to the EU single market, and both sides have said new market access must be negotiated outside the trade agreement in specific equivalence deals. Britain and the EU clinched a trade deal on December 24th, but Prime Minister Boris Johnson has admitted it is an accord which does not have as much as he would have liked about the financial sector services and regulatory equivalence.
Now, Hollywood flick Wonder Woman 1984 grossed approximately $36.1 million worldwide over the Christmas holiday weekend, the distributor Warner Brothers said, and also confirmed plans for a 3rd film in the superhero franchise. Of the total, around $16.7 million came from the US and Canada. That ranked as the highest domestic box office opening since the novel COVID-19 shuttered theaters in March, though the numbers were a fraction of those typical for a big-budget action flick. And with that, let's move on now to our next segment and get you all the news from the World Wide Web in the Web Review.
Well, we've got Preeti joining us this morning. Preeti, good morning. What do we have in store?
Good morning, Anil. Good morning, Nancy, and a warm good morning to all our viewers. When we talk of the top stories put forth in the web portals of the social media, then most of the portals are leading with this warning coming in from the IMD. It's not about the cold temperatures which we are headed for, but also a warning that it would not be safe for people to drink alcohol during the New Year Eve and the New Year Day, because a severe cold wave is expected in North India, that is Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, North Rajasthan, and also Haryana, Punjab, and the temperatures would be falling to the most minimum level on 28th and 29th of December. Also, western disturbance over the Himalayas is the reason which is being attributed for this minimum temperature and the severe cold wave, which will be expected in the next 2 days in the national capital as well. Also, the Indian Express slide talks of how western disturbance over Himalayas will lead to snowfall also in the upper reaches of Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and with that the IMD has advised people not to have the intake of alcohol during the New Year's, because intake of alcohol tends to bring your body temperature further down. So that is the reason which has been attributed. The IMD also has advised people to stay indoors and not to go out or venture out during the cold temperatures. With that, I'll pick up the next slide. The next slide on your screens is coming in from the other news portal, that is the Times of India. The Times of India talks of how Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be inaugurating the driverless metro train service. This will be the first driverless metro which will be on the Magenta line. That is, it will run from Janakpuri West to Botanical Garden. Now, with the inauguration of this, Delhi Metro will be part of the 7% of the world's metro. It will be part of the elite league of the 7% metro services of the world which are run without a driver. Also, the paper gives us the details that apart from this, NCMC, that is the National Common Mobility Card, will also be applicable in the metro services of the Airport Express line specifically. That is a RuPay debit card which has been issued in the last 18 months, can be used for travel through the Airport Express line. So these are the two services which will be inaugurated by the Prime Minister today. That has been reported by the Times of India. With that, I'll pick up the next slide, the next news portal, that is the Business Standard, and it talks about the gold will continue to glitter and will be sort of inaccessible further in 2021, as it is likely to touch 63,000 rupees per 10 grams. Now, the paper has attributed certain reasons. Before we talk of that, let me remind you that this year, in 2020, the gold touched the high of more than 56,000 rupees per 10 grams. The Business Standard, the portal, talks of how the price has reached more than 56,000, and also dollar could weaken on the back of more stimulus, and that could further aggravate the prices, and the prices are expected to touch 63,000 rupees per 10 grams. That has been reported by the Business Standard. With that, I'll pick up the Indian Express again. The Indian Express has come out with a very interesting report which is explaining where is the giant Antarctic iceberg A68A heading and why is it a cause of concern. Now, generally we see that icebergs, icebergs are separated and they travel through ocean currents, and either they get grounded or they are stuck in shallow waters. Right. Now, this particular iceberg, that is A68.
Okay. All right, Preeti, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all that news in the world from the World Wide Web.
Nancy, there's some color coordination that's going on. She was also wearing blue today.
Absolutely, I think blue is the color for this morning for all of us. Well, on that great note, let's move on now and shift focus to getting you all the news from the world of sports in Sports Track.
Well, India got a lead of 131 runs in the first innings in the second test against Australia in Melbourne. When reports last came in, India, in reply to the host's first inning score of 195 runs, were bowled out for 326. Resuming at the overnight score of 277 runs for the loss of 5 wickets, India lost captain Ajinkya Rahane for a terrible mix-up for 112. Ravindra Jadeja completed his half-century and departed for 57. The lower order showed some resistance as Mitchell Starc and Nathan Lyon were the wrecker-in-chiefs for the host. Both Starc and Lyon picked 3 wickets apiece, while Pat Cummins snapped 2 wickets. Australia lead the 4-match series 1-0. At this point of time as we speak, Australia in their second innings are 28 for the loss of 1 wicket. The only wicket to fall, that of Joe Barnes for 4 runs there, and Australia currently trailing by 103 runs in the second innings, and Matthew Wade along with Labuschagne there in the middle trying to salvage this particular test match. Remember, batting on that Melbourne track is becoming easier, and batting last on day 5 could be an uphill task for either of the teams.
Now in more sports news, Cristiano Ronaldo was named Player of the Century at the Globe Soccer Awards in Dubai on Sunday. The Juventus forward attended the awards to receive the top prize, which Lionel Messi, Mohamed Salah and Ronaldinho were also shortlisted for. The 35-year-old Portuguese also received the Agent of the Century award on behalf of his agent and compatriot Jorge Mendes. And let's move on now to our next segment. That's the health story of the day. And today we are focusing on the dental caries in children. Well, early childhood caries is the most common chronic disease of childhood, and healthy dental habits should begin early because tooth decay can develop as soon as the first tooth comes in. Well, take a look at this report as to how really one can prevent tooth decay in children.
Healthy teeth are important to the overall health of infants and children. They help your child to eat and talk. Strong oral care helps eat good dental habits as your child grows. Poor oral care can lead to infections, diseases and other dental problems.
Male teeth is also very important. It gives us succedaneous teeth, that is a permanent teeth in a proper position. If if infants or children have a deciduous teeth in a good manner, that will impact the permanent teeth in proper eruption.
Dental problems are quite common in children. Unhealthy eating habits and lack of oral hygiene are responsible for the increased risk of dental problems in infancy and early childhood. Many parents assume that cavities in baby teeth don't matter because they'll be lost anyway, but that's not true. Dental decay in baby teeth or temporary teeth can negatively affect permanent teeth and lead to future dental problems.
First we will start with the infants. When no tooth will erupt in a oral cavity, clean the vestibule with the soft cotton, with the soak in the warm saline regularly, and then when first teeth erupt in at the age of 6 months, you will start making a habit of brushing. That will give a very good dental health.
The best way to protect your child's teeth is to teach them good dental habits. During the regular visit to the pediatrician for child's checkup, pediatrician must check the child's teeth and gums to ensure good oral health in children. Kiran Bhardwaj, DD News.
Well, some shocking numbers, especially when you look at tooth decay problems. You know, out of every 10 children in India, almost 8 children have tooth decay. So that's a serious cause of concern, and parents need to be careful. Remember, giving all those junk food, giving all those cola drinks to children, one needs to be careful, especially when it comes to problems like tooth decay, which is causing havoc among young children, especially in India and over the world.
Well, absolutely. And with that, let's move on now to our next segment and take a look back at the significance of this day in history.
This day in history, in 1885, the Indian National Congress, one of the world's largest and oldest political parties, was founded by members of the Theosophical Society in Mumbai Presidency, British India. On this day in 1895, the first public demonstration of the cinematograph and early motion picture apparatus designed by the Lumiere brothers took place at a Grand Cafe in Paris. On this day in 1923, Gustave Eiffel, designer of the famous Eiffel Tower, died in Paris. This day in history, in 1932, Dhirubhai Ambani, Indian business tycoon who founded Reliance Industries in Mumbai with his cousin, was born at Junagadh in Gujarat. On this day in 1937, Ratan Tata, an Indian industrialist, philanthropist and former chairman of Tata Sons, was born. On this day in 1952, Arun Jaitley, an Indian politician and a member of the Bharatiya Janata Party, was born. Arun Jaitley oversaw the induction of goods and service tax, merger of railway budget with general budget and the implementation of demonetization. On this day in 1977, Padma Bhushan Sumitra Nandan Pant, famous Hindi poet and literate, passed away in Prayagraj.
And let's now move on to our next segment, that's We Care. Now many efforts are being made to bring transgenders into the mainstream. One such work was done in the Thoothukudi district of Tamil Nadu. That's 3 kilometers from the town of Kovilapatti in Tuticorin district. A special colony and milk farm has been built at the Manthi Thopu for transgenders. While these people are very elated because they now have a home to live, money and most importantly respect in society. Take a look.
Employment housing sector developed for transgenders in Mantitop area in Thoothukudi district in Tamil Nadu has emerged as a unique example for their upliftment. The residents of this special colony have all the comforts of home along with employment. These people are very happy as they now have everything to lead a respectful life. All this has been possible because of their own determination and hard work. This is India's first registered dairy company which is being fully operated by transgenders. A residential colony has been built here on 2 acres of land for around 85 transgenders. Cooperation from several departments was very important for the upliftment of these transgenders. These include revenue, skill development, animal husbandry, cooperatives and rural development. All of them had been working hard since July 2019 to complete the project built at a cost of 1.77 crore rupees. Trans activist Grace Banu says she always wanted to ensure overall development of her community and thus she took help from the district administration to build a registered company here.
We have 2 cows, so every day we are getting 300 liter milk to supply that all the milks to Arvin. Every day the Arvin vehicle will come collect all the milks directly from our staying place. Our heartfelt thanks to everyone who supported this cause.
Sufficient quantity of milk is produced every day in this dairy. The Manditop Transgender Milk Producers Society has been supplying about 250 to 280 liters of milk daily to the state-owned organization Kovind since July. Safe livelihood can ensure empowerment of any sector in society. Not only the government and several institutions, but transgenders themselves are coming forward to take effective steps ensuring empowerment of their community. Bureau Report, DD News. Well, 2 Hungarian scientists have developed a bacteria cocktail that consumes any single-use plastic in 7 weeks without prior chemical treatment or processing. Let's see more in this report.
Breaking down plastic using plastic-eating bacteria. That's what these 2 young scientists in Hungary are doing.
We have a couple of cocktails here, special mixtures for special things.
They've developed a bacteria cocktail that consumes any single-use plastic in 7 weeks without prior chemical treatment or processing.
I'm Liz Madaras. I'm Cristiano. And we're the co-founders of Polyloop, a Hungarian biotech company which has developed plastic-eating bacteria.
The cocktail ingredients are highly secret, but Polyloop CEO Liz Madaras says if it can be mass-produced, it could mean a significant step in reducing plastic waste globally.
We saw plastic waste pollution as a very, very pertinent issue. So we decided to try to combine biotechnology and chemical engineering to create a media which can actually bring plastics back into the natural life cycle to which they once belonged.
After 2 weeks, the process produces shreds of plastic.
This is how it's going to look like in 2 weeks.
That then becomes a brown liquid sludge by the end of week 7.
In 7 weeks' time, it goes to this, the sludge, which is the end product of our process.
Initial lab tests show that the sludge is safe to use as a soil improver.
the degradation process is very similar to how those leaves disappear from autumn until springtime. A consortia of microbes biodegrades them, and this is what we're doing with our bacteria and fossil-based plastics. If it works on a large scale, it can make a global impact, because the problem with plastics up until now was that they lingered on in the environment forever. But once we can biodegrade them, bring them back into the natural environment, they become part of nature again, become part of the global recycling system, not just the human one.
There are successful attempts globally to degrade plastic, but Polyloop degrades all types of plastic, including multi-layer packaging and mixed plastic blends.
There are successful attempts with PET degradation though. But in our case, we do all types of plastics from resin identification 1 through 7, and that includes other plastics as well, such as multi-layer packaging or mixed plastic blend.
Polyloop now has investment to build their first industrial plant, where they'll test the degradation on a larger scale. They're also experimenting with what their cocktail could do with other types of fossil-based contaminants, such as diesel.
And let's now move on to our next segment and take a look at the weather conditions for today.
Well, taking a look at the satellite image there, under the influence of the approaching western disturbance, fairly widespread to widespread rainfall, snowfall, very likely over Jammu, Kashmir, Ladakh, Gilgit, Baltistan and Muzaffarabad, scattered rainfall and snowfall over Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and isolated rain and thunder showers over northern parts of Punjab, Haryana and Chandigarh for today. Also, cold wave to severe cold wave conditions likely to re-establish over Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh and Delhi for the next 48 hours, over Rajasthan over the next 2 days, and cold waves in isolated pockets in Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh over the next 2 to 3 days. Northern parts of Saurashtra and Kutch also likely to experience cold wave conditions over the next 48 hours. Well, ground frost conditions likely over Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab and Haryana. Time now to take a look at the weather in your city. Well, there are 1440 minutes in a day. So what exactly that means? You have 1440 moments in life where you can make a change. But the only change that we are asking you to do through a campaign that we run on DD India and DD News, that's Mask Up India, where we are requesting you to wear your mask as you step out of your house. So do not forget that as we step out of the studios, we're going to get our mask on, and we request you and urge each and every one of you to get your mask on as you step out.
Absolutely. Well, it's a positive change that has to become a habit for the good of all of us. And as we step out, we're also going to be wearing our masks. Well, it's a simple task. Just wear your mask. And before we end the breakfast news this morning, we're leaving you with the glimpses of Gentoo penguin shakes celebrating their first Christmas. Well, Christmas has just gone by, so we are leaving you with these images in a winter wonderland filled with bubbles in Sydney. Take a look at those visuals, and we wish you a great day ahead. Do take good care of yourself and your loved ones. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.